All right, gentlemen, but I think all of us have a little bit of travel that's coming up. I know we're coming out of holiday weekend and where have we been, but like, I feel like this conference season is like a busy conference season. Jerry and I have an agenda, but Terry, you're on the road this fall, aren't you? Or you just came back too from another SHRM event?
Just came back from the HR Florida event. Going to be at HR Tech. Going to be at the SIA Collaboration Gig Economy event in Dallas. And then we've got HR Southwest coming up. So,
which also another big one.
Season.
Yeah. Is HR Southwest, where's that? Is that going to be in Fort Worth? I don't know why I think that.
Yes, Fort Worth.
It is Fort Worth. Okay. I'm shocked I know that. Jerry, we will not be at HR Southwest, but we do have quite a few events coming up. Where will people see the hat bobbing around
next week? It'll take me 2.5 days to get there, but I'm going to drive to Nashville with my Airstream, park it outside of Bicentennial Park. And for any of the characters wandering around, I'm happy to have a little campfire at night before we all go off on our own.
Will there be s'mores?
I'm thinking I would offer a little s'mores.
I might get on a plane for that. I might get on a plane for that. I got to be honest. Just for the s'more, the campfire with Jerry. We need a YouTube camera crew. We need a.
I know. It's got to be cool. It'll be a cool little event.
It will be a cool little event. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Jerry's Airstream. All right. Well, we've got a fun topic today. We're going to jump in. Are you guys ready to get started?
Sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, here we go.
CXR Channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
Welcome, everybody. I didn't think that intro was going to end. It seemed extraordinarily long today. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Recruiting Community Podcast. We do weekly insights and updates. We bring in interesting people. We do it all in the form of what we like to call an easy conversation. I am your host, Crazy Legs, and with me is Ken Swift.
Oh, God. I don't even know how to respond to any of these.
But we're the Rocksteady crew. Well, two of the most notable Rocksteady crew. Yeah, the break dancing, nothing.
No, nothing.
Okay. I figured all this garbage with break dancing right now for sure. That would get somebody would know who we were.
Break dancing, really?
Yeah, there's a whole. Okay, you got to Google it. There's a lot of break dance news going on lately.
No.
Full circle. Yeah. Look, today we're going to be talking with Terry Baker. He's the CEO of Daxtra Technologies. We're going to talk about challenges of AI-powered solutions and data quality, but we got a couple of housekeeping things first. We're on the YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch. You can check us out at cxr.works/podcast to see past and future episodes. If you happen to be here with us on LinkedIn streaming live, you can say hello in the chat. We'll throw that up on the screen. If you've got questions for Terry or for Jerry or for anybody else who might be on, or you just want to chime in, do so. We may throw you up on the screen. You never know. Also, really quickly, this is an ad-free labor of love. Jerry, we're on episode like 320 something. Do you believe it?
No.
Feels like episode 2 sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's fun.
I do want to give Jerry, I want to give you a quick chance to talk a little bit, because I do think it'll be tangentially related to our conversation today, but we have a report that was recently published on conflicts of interest and transparency. You want to give everybody, I've got a bunch of windows open. You want to give everybody a little spiel for that? I'm going to throw a link up for anybody who wants to learn more.
Yeah, I think we're on a long-term effort to promote the fact that as an industry, this industry has literally tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in technology and activities and everything else versus what it was, 20, 30 years ago. And as a result of that, there's a lot of money flowing, and we think there should be a lot more transparency about who pays who for what. So we have put together 50, 60 people typically. So somewhere in that of folks who are vendors and suppliers, talent, solution suppliers, et cetera, as well as practitioners, to really talk about what should we be talking about when we go to a conference and we mention products or services. If we're on their board, we should be letting them know. If we're getting paid to represent them, we should let people know so that they can make their own judgment as the degree of, if you will, conflict of interest.
Yeah, I love that. For those who are listening and not watching, the URL is cxr.org/COI. You can get that. I believe there's also a rider that you can download within that's been released under Creative Commons, but really interesting conversation with those 30 or 40 leaders Jerry mentioned. Yeah. It took about 5 weeks for us to get through that. It's a 30-page report.
It did. Yeah,
it's good stuff. Recommend anybody grab it. All right, cxr.org/COE. So let's go ahead, see if I can find, where's our guest? Where did he go? There we go.
There he is.
Bring him in. Let's move Terry over. Terry, how are you?
Good. Happy to be with you today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you in. I do want to jump in
here.
Every right side of the
dirt. It only took me 323 podcasts to get on, but that's okay. I'm glad we're here.
How did you not know we were here? I don't understand. You banging down our door every day. I don't know why you weren't. We do have 11 listeners. They're loyal. We're happy about it. Nobody's mad. I do have an idea. I have an idea I'm going to introduce, and I have told neither of you about this, but I think we should. Gentlemen, how are your dad jokes? Oh, Jerry's locking up. How are your dad jokes? I'm thinking we could have a segment. We kick it off with our guests. They bring their best dad joke, and then people can kind of vote on the dad joke.
If we know in advance,
yes.
I would definitely find a good dad joke.
Yeah. Okay. Do either of you have? This is unannounced. Do either of you happen to have a dad joke in your pocket?
Not top of mind.
That's not a dad joke. That's not a setup for a dad joke, by the way.
Do you?
I always have a dad joke in my pocket. Let's set the stage. So this will be the announcement. I'll give you one or two. Have you guys heard about the band 1023 MB?
No,
probably not. They haven't gotten to a gig yet. 1023. Okay. I thought the tech side. All right.
You would think that I've raised 6 kids. You'd think I'd have a few dad jokes on hand, but
to be fair, you are on the spot. Nobody gave you a heads up. So total fairness. So I'll leave you with this. This is a quality benchmark. So Jerry, going forward, you got to bring a dad joke. Okay.
I'm in.
What's a pirate's favorite? This is an easy one. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
I don't know.
You think it'd be R, but it's the C. See, they're bad. Okay, we're gonna need votes.
The R.
Yeah, but it's the C.
It's the C.
The C. Okay. Anyway, with that, look, Terry, I am excited to have you on today. Terry's like, what have I gotten into? I want to welcome everybody. We'll do that segment going forward. Bring your best dad jokes. But look, really quickly, Terry, give an overview. I'm going to pull it right off of your LinkedIn. It's pretty impressive. Founder and CEO of Amped Marketplace, investor and board member over at ZRG Partners, strategic advisor at Veritone, investor and strategic advisor at Sonic Jobs, and of course, CEO at Daxtra. Terry, there's a lot going on there, but why don't you kind of give us kind of an escalator pitch of who is Terry, and if you do have an epiphany dad joke halfway through, you can jump right back to that. We're happy to do a callback. But kind of who is Terry Baker? Why should we be listening to Terry Baker today?
Well, I've been in HR tech for 25 years, and I've been in AI development for at least 20 of those years. So one of the companies you didn't mention is PandoLogic, and PandoLogic was a programmatic job advertising platform that we pivoted back in 2019 from being a private label job board. And so when we collected all this data on performance of jobs across hundreds, if not thousands of different job boards, we begin to think about one thing to end users who want the best place. So that's what it was, AI based, and now I'm with which has been in machine learning and linguistic analysis for 23 years. So really good track record of AI development.
Yeah, I think what it's interesting too, because Terry, I think you were telling us in the green room before we started, you had just gotten back from speaking at another conference, and then you were referencing, I think, a SHRM, recent SHRM report or statistic that came out with regards to like the practical application of AI. Can you share? I think because I think that kind of sets the stage a little bit.
Yes, SHRM published a survey just last month, actually, and they found that 62% of HR leaders reported limited practical experience with AI-powered applications. That's a problem. When you're a vendor selling an AI-enabled tool into a talent acquisition organization and people don't have any practical experience as to what that does and the impact of that, it puts, I think, the onus of explaining it and demonstrating it and producing the ROI of AI to the vendor so that we can educate the marketplace. And that's what we've been doing here at Daxtra for quite a while.
Which is really cool. The problem, obviously, is if 62% really aren't involved, then they don't even know what they don't know. They don't know the questions they should be asking. And
Right.
that's an issue that we've been trying to deal with for almost over a year, actually, Chris.
Yep.
In terms of bringing folks together last year, when AI was really becoming a critical component for that discussion, we kind of tapped the best brains we could in terms of what are the kinds of questions that employers should be engaging in a conversation in their RFI, RFP with talent solutions folks who are beginning to add AI to the solution.
Yeah.
So that they can verify their claims, so that they can demonstrate that they're not just going off in the left field simply because it's the phrase du jour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other stat that came out of that SHRM survey, which I thought was even more valuable. And it said 88% of HR leaders believe AI should complement human capabilities. And I think that's maybe an insight from HR leaders using ChatGPT and writing prompts and seeing the response, and it complements their human capabilities when it comes to creating great job postings or doing other kinds of activities. But I think in the marketplace today, when you have AI that does the automation of all of the tasks and takes the recruiter out of the picture, you lose, right? When you have AI that is serving up interesting insights and valuable data and allowing the recruiters to make that discussion, that's where you get the win. And so that's what we've been focusing on.
It's been interesting to watch. I'd love to know if you gents agree with the time frame. In the last 6 months, we've gone from all the scary headlines of AI is going to take recruiting jobs and AI is going to take all the work away from humans, et cetera. Now the mainstream part of the conversation is how it will augment or enhance the work we already do. I think we've rounded that corner of that AI fear, and maybe we're at a bubble, with AI. And from a technology standpoint, I don't. Maybe it's a little early for that, but it's been really telling for me in the last 6 months to see those conversations. Like you said, Terry, we're going from, we should be worried about this and super hesitant to maybe we should be leaning in and helping it, help us.
Exactly. And I think there's 3 areas. In fact, SIA validated this with some survey and research that they did in the staffing marketplace. But they said the primary AI disruption is in 3 categories: candidate screening and skills assessment, being able to parse a resume and pull out all that data that's valuable for grading, scoring, and ranking candidates. So matching and selection was number 2. And the third was something they called redeployment, which is internal mobility, being able to look at an employee, current employee, look at a job description and say, what's the skill gap for enhancing this employee to the point where I don't have to go outside and hire somebody, which is expensive and time consuming and a risk, and I can upskill my talent. So the response they got on that was the screening, skills assessment, matching, and selection was 91% theorized as replacement of AI capability. And, we're seeing the good and bad in that, right? If you've got really good data and you're grading, scoring, and ranking candidates, it makes the job easy for the recruiter. They can see the top list. We have a quote from one of our clients who says, by the time I get to candidate number 20, I just kind of lose interest. Even if that 20th candidate is the most valuable, highest performing, highest quality candidate, I've already gone through 19 and I've kind of been diffused in terms of response. So if you can give somebody the top 10 candidates or even top 5 and allow engagement on those top 5, and the recruiter then gets to do the decisioning, who's the one I'm going to pick, because it's not just about hard skill management, it's about soft skill as well, right? And so that's what we do, is we do the primary AI disruption, which is parsing the resume, job description, looking at those skilling capabilities, and grading, scoring, and ranking. And then the other thing that occurs in the marketplace, and this is where, Chris, to your point about leaning in, at PandaLogic, we acquired a bot company called Wade and Windy, and we would do a lot of high volume hiring, and we would use bots to really validate short skill requirements for high volume hiring. If you're hiring an Amazon driver, all you need to know is, can you lift 55 pounds? Do you have a driver's license? And, are you authorized to work in the US? If you answer those 3 questions, come in, we got a job for you. Well, bots work really well for those scenarios, but for, sit down kind of jobs where there's all kinds of additional qualifications, recruiter is best able to analyze the way in which a candidate engages. So we have an engagement product that is humanized. It's a literal recruiter engagement via SMS or WhatsApp, and it targets the top 5 qualified, or top 10, however many you want to go after, and it humanizes the whole scenario, right? So a lot of times our recruiters, the first question they ask is, hey, I see you applied after hours. Do you want to wait till office hours till you call me? And when you get a text like that, it's not a bot. It's a recruiter who wants to talk to you during office hours. And guess what the engagement is on that, as opposed to a bot? It's like 85, 90% engagement, because they know they're going to have the opportunity to talk to a human.
Well, so Terry, that takes us right into sort of the headline of why we were going to chat, right? Because you're talking about doing outreach, and you're talking about elemental, if you want to call it that, like screening, looking for pulse, essentially, not necessarily what makes the heart beat, but that it's still beating, right? You could maybe differentiate that, but I guess that takes us to a data quality standpoint, right? Like, so if you've got tech, yours or anybody else's, that's reaching out, I guess my question to you is, why is that data quality so critical for the success of any AI-powered solution, right? Like, what would be the impact on those outcomes if it's poor quality or high quality?
Yeah, maybe this is a dad joke, because, if you have good AI data, you get good outcomes. If you have bad AI data, you get bad outcomes. It's like raising a kid. Use good methodologies, you're going to get, good outcomes.
It's the garbage in, garbage out, right? It's the same thing we talk about from an analytics and implementing a reporting solution. And it's all great till you start reading the data and how do you have a -1 data fill time? None of these maths are mathing, right? That kind of thing.
And actually, parsing of resumes in comparison to job descriptions can be easily validated for accuracy. And that's the value. I mean, we've sold to Google and Amazon and Apple and Meta and Ernst & Young and some of the bigger companies in the planet who source all kinds of candidates, and they all do a trial. And I would advocate this for anybody who's wants to do validation of technology, do a trial. And you can try, the parsing accuracy versus other platforms that are out there. But our parsing accuracy is bar none. It's the highest level. We've been doing it for 22 years, constantly improving the linguistics. We actually did a fairly interesting exercise a little bit ago. We had a staffing firm that came to us and said, hey, we want to expand this into solar engineering. Do you guys have a taxonomy for solar engineering? We're like, no, not really. Let us work on that. So we did a federated generative AI approach. We used 8 different Gen AI platforms, ChatGPT, Bard, and Llama, and you name it. And we saw because all these models are trained differently, we saw the outcomes were different. And we put in like 10,000 solar engineering resumes, and we basically collected across 8 different GPT platforms a taxonomy that will enable us to do this faster, at scale, lower cost within our platform. So we did derive the value of ChatGPT and others to learn what is required in a solar engineering resume and built our own taxonomy. And in 2 weeks' time, we were grading, scoring, and ranking solar engineers based on that capability. So it's an interesting world we live in. You can use a lot of data now that's out there to improve your platform.
It does give you speed for sure, and that's not to take light of the work that went into working with the 8 or 9 or however many platforms there are. But I guess, can you talk a little bit about maybe the limitations of AI tech when there's poor quality data? I mean, you did a start from scratch. How do we build this type of approach with several of the platforms? But how are you addressing poor data or limitations like that where you can't validate the quality of that data?
Mm-hmm. Well, resumes are fairly standard. So, you've got zoning within resumes that are typical. LinkedIn profile, it's not all that different. In fact, resume for you. So being able to derive accuracy on resumes is fairly easy, although different types of resumes require different types of skill-based capabilities. And now we're getting job descriptions that are very detailed, which is great, right? You got hourly wages, and then you got salary information, you got detail, you got soft skill and hard skill information requirements within a resume. And that gives us the ability to then parse accurately a CV as compared to the job description to determine the score and the ranking. I'll give you one example from my days at PandaLogic. Most programmatic job advertisers, they have a rule-based system, and they write a rule that says, this job description is best suited for these different job boards with this price per CPA, and let's run it and let's validate it. And it takes about a month to actually produce good quality data. With PandaLogic, we had all that data in-house. We had job performance data across every spectrum, across every job board. So we could predict, instead of running a rules-based system and figuring it out, changing the rules as you see the performance, we could predict up front with 90% accuracy what the quality of hire would be, time to hire, and cost per hire for any particular job. That was only a result of predictive capability, only a result of having data, good data, performance data across, all these different platforms over 10 years' time, that you could actually take a job description and say, all right, here's the best place, lowest cost, highest quality candidate production for that job posting. That's what good data delivers to recruiters.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Jerry was talking earlier about the AI RFI, RFP template that we had done for leaders who maybe have no experience in that area, but are talking to vendors who say they offer an AI-based solution, right? I think there's 20, Jerry, you can correct me, I think there's 24 questions in there. We had about 20 or so companies come together. They were on the vendor side, they were on the practitioner side coming together. But I guess, Terry, my question for you, kind of building off of that, is from your standpoint, are there ethical considerations you think leaders or these companies should be keeping in mind when implementing AI powered tech?
Yes.
Especially maybe regarding, if you want to double down, maybe data quality, which kind of lends us to your point earlier, or maybe even privacy. Is there any kind of a flag there, or anything the leaders should be watching for?
Yes, on both accounts. Privacy, we do, private parsing of resumes, graded, scored, and ranking within a client's ATS. That data only goes into the client's ATS, not shared with anybody else. It gives them a competitive advantage. But to your point about data quality, I'm glad you guys did this survey, because I think the biggest concern for HR people and TA people is the introduction of bias. Am I going to have an AI-based system that's doing automated decisioning on my part that introduces bias? Most bias actually comes from humans, from recruiters who look at a resume and it's like, I really like this resume, right? Well, we can anonymize resumes. We can take out, the location. We can take out the name. We can take out pictures. We can fully anonymize it. So they're seeing basically the graded score rank based upon soft and hard skill assessment. And once you give that to a recruiter, then you're taking away some of the bias that might otherwise have been there. And that's a good thing, but you're still allowing the recruiter to make that final decision. And where I think you've seen, lawsuits in the marketplace is when the decisioning is done on an automated basis and you don't know what that decisioning criteria was. Was it race-based? Was it disability-based? Was it, human-based? Was it skill-based? What was the decisioning? And that needs to be exposed within the platform so recruiters have some level of comfort that bias is not being introduced.
Mm-hmm. And how does what's that exposure sort of look like to you, Terry? Is it visible on that front end, or do we put in, and I don't mean specific to Daxtra or Pandora, like anywhere, right? In an ideal state, is the recruiter seeing that as it happens? Or does the admin need to put in some sort of work order in order to get an export, in order to take it to an engineer, in order to sort of break that down?
Yeah. So we've built a conversational search that works just like a prompt on ChatGPT, but it's integrated within any ATS system. So the recruiter can say, I'm looking for a nurse. I want, certain certifications, certain locations, certain information. And an AI assisted view will come up that says, hey, by the way, here's some other considerations you might want to take advantage of. And it gives, by virtue of the billion resumes that we parse per year, many of which are nurses, we collect a bunch of data relative to nursing that could help a recruiter create that prompt. And in the past, recruiters have been, very centralized around Boolean search. The problem with Boolean search is it's just keyword based. It's going out looking for keywords. If I'm looking for a .NET developer and I find a resume and it only says C++, it's not going to be served because it doesn't match the keywords. But if semantically you can connect the dots between C++, which is a .NET development framework, you can serve up better qualified data. So that's part of the value of semantic versus Boolean search for recruiters. And it works right within their ATS. Right? So they're searching the ATS and they're searching third-party platforms, job boards, and other sources in order to find the best candidates. And to your question, Chris, when it comes up, it ranks them and it gives you the criteria for the ranking. Your job description said it needed X, Y, and Z. Here's the qualifications for that, the years of experience for that, and validation of the quality of the ranking. So the recruiter has that at their fingertips, which is immensely valuable, and they're not stuck reading 20 different resumes and taking half their day, right? Going through that criteria, because their time, recruiters are amazing salespeople. Their time is best served selling the hiring manager and selling the candidate. And I think if we serve them up the highest quality candidates and give them a quick and fast way to engage at a high conversion rate, they're going to perform like never before.
Yeah, and Terry, you mentioned it's funny you mentioned Boolean. So Jerry and I had I remember Jerry, I don't know what hotel bar we were in. I know this will shock people. This is years ago, and we were talking about the impact that AI we thought would have on the recruiting roles, the various roles within recruitment, for all the way from your coordinators to your executive headhunters, right? That type of thing.
Yeah.
And and I believe at the time, and Jerry, I don't know where we stand on this today. We want to talk about it again. One of the predictions thrown out on the table is that sourcers, as we knew them, that was done, right? Just that Boolean that's done. And while there will still be a need for that in some markets and in some niche areas, by and large, that role has to transform before all of the rest. That will be the first. That was the lowest hanging fruit of the stuff that was going to be impacted. We were predicting. And Jerry, I don't want to speak for you if you remember that conversation.
No, I do, and I think that the data continues to prove it out. The problem is that we never, not we, but I think the industry and the conversations have never really moved from what AI is going to do for us to what we should be doing instead of what we were doing.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
That's the difference, because obviously if we don't move from more transactional button seat practices to more strategic, how we think about the business for the future and how we help prepare and build perhaps better pools, we could be replacing many more recruiters than we expect.
I'll borderline overshare. So we do a monthly open mic with our leaders. We get anywhere from 12 to 24, and there rotates who the leaders are based on schedules and availability, but they come in with their own agenda. And one of the last topics that we had discussed at length, and Jerry, you're going to nod big at this, but it was what some of the organizations have begun to implement some of this technology. And it's forcing them to rethink their org structures now. They're seeing such significant savings, some of them in places they had not anticipated. But it's really forcing them to say, well, what am I going to do with it? Do I give this headcount back to the organization? Do I bring in a new skill set of AI relevant or compliance? Or do I need a forward team? Is this a COE of AI? Like, they're really starting to talk about the impact this is finally having.
When we really start focusing in on, okay, now that we have the time and resources to be able to do stuff differently,
Yep.
because we can, what is it that we always wish we could be doing, and how can we show an ROI on that longer term? Because now we're upskilling people to make candidates raving fans, even if we don't hire them today. I mean, it's goes on and on and on about what we might be able to do, and I think we've still got a ways to go to get to that.
Yeah. And Terry, so that kind of leads me, I guess, to, and we can wrap with this question. I guess I want to ask what your outlook sort of on the future. So if you're looking ahead, right, from today, what innovations do you maybe predict, or do you kind of foresee in AI technology that might enhance either the data quality management piece that you were talking about earlier, or is there something you think up front that the companies, the TA leaders, should be preparing for today?
Yeah. I think there's a disruption between trying to find candidates and hire for a new position and the upskilling of current employees. And those two don't connect. One of the reasons is candidates are in the ATS and employees are in HRIS, right? And so they're in two different systems. And it makes it hard for a talent acquisition leader to say, yeah, I would rather hire somebody that knows my culture, that's performed on the job, and just upskill them and enable them and equip them, which has huge value for an employee to be valued within the organization. But how do you do that within a talent acquisition workflow? That's not easy. And so that's one of the things we're trying to solve in the marketplace. And it's one of the three big primary disruptions of AI. I think we've solved the candidate screening, assessment, matching, and selection. But the redeployment of existing candidates relative to the cost of a hire is really valuable for talent acquisition people, but it's two different workflows. We've got to bring it together. So that's one of the
things. It breaks my heart that 10 years ago we were complaining about this. You get 100,000 people apply. You're not hiring but 2,000 of them. OMG, what's going on with the rest of those candidates that are just sitting in there and starting from zero? This is like as old as recruiting. So it kills me that we're in 2024. People are just now saying, "Hey, I got this. I got this."
Well, but we're doing it with automation and AI as opposed to just creating a workflow, right? So, and being able to compare the two together and see the cost difference, all those kinds of things has a big impact, I think.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, Terry, we ask all of our guests this before we wrap up the show. If you were going to write a book on this particular topic, and maybe you are, hate if that's a spoiler for you, but maybe you're going to write a book on this particular topic. What's the title of it? What title do you give the book?
I think the title is AI Meets Human Capabilities, right? Because I don't think there's a displacement. I think it's about automation and equipping recruiters to do what they do best and eliminating all of the manual kinds of things and bias kinds of introductions that come into their workplace every day. And so if we could figure out how to make AI complement human capabilities, I think that's a huge advantage in the market.
I love it. So present company excluded, Terry, who gets your first signed copy of the book?
Well, I'd ask Jerry to write me a foreword.
Oh, I think you're muted, Jerry.
I know. He worked around that.
He did. I saw what he did.
He worked around that. Yeah, but who gets the book? All right, I've written the foreword.
Did anybody else notice Jerry just accepted writing the foreword? This is the world I live in. Like, just happened.
No,
So
the book goes to talent acquisition leaders, right?
Okay.
That's who it's written for.
Oh, I love it. Well, Terry, it's just been a delight to have you on. I can't believe we went 300 episodes without. Let's not go another 300. So it was nice for you to join us today. We know you're super busy. Much gratitude for your time.
Thank you both. It was enjoyable. Appreciate it.
All right.
We'll see you soon on the road.
You will indeed. We got an invite coming your way, I think, for a little event. So that'll be great. All right, everybody. I think we do these weekly, pretty much. It's a rare occurrence if you miss one, but it's cxr.org/podcast if you want to catch the rest of them. And with that, gentlemen, let's just say goodbye to everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram @careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.